Anthony, you had a question for John that he was about to answer, and then literally John just went frozen mode on us.
Yeah. So the question I asked, and we're going to have to start all over, John, is essentially coming into this draft, the Commanders have plenty of needs on defense. Even after the free agency haul, there's still some needs that they have to fill: corner, safety, linebacker, and beyond. What is one position that they must get this draft that will make it a successful draft?
On defense?
Yeah, you could be either side of the ball.
I think corner is the spot you have to get, because the one thing, and I think, most defensive coaches are going to say you can never have enough of two positions, edge and corner. And they don't, like, at edge, I think they did a good job in the offseason. I think if you go there, like, I would almost look for a developmental edge in this draft after the third round, probably. But corner, I'd want a top-end guy to pair with Trey Amos. I think they've done a lot with that front that that should result in a better pass rush. Can you take them away on the back end? Can you make the quarterback pause on the back end? So now you need to get some more cover guys. And I like Amik Robertson a lot. Like, I like the toughness he's at. I don't know how much you've watched him. That dude competes, and he doesn't care how big he is compared to someone else. He's going to compete. I love the mindset, right? But where's he at as a corner? He wasn't, he was up and down a little bit last year. Mikey Sanders still up and down last year. They loved him as a rookie. Like, I know they're confident he can return to that level in this defense, but will he? And even if he does, and you add another guy, now you're really strong. Like, look at the teams that won last year in the playoffs. They all talk about, like, the offense and under center for the quarterbacks. Defense, like, the Patriots defense carried that team to the Super Bowl. Seahawks won because of it. The Texans, like, Denver almost had a shot despite losing Bo Nix because of their defense and the depth at corner. So I think that, to me, would be the spot. Like, get one of those guys for sure. And the other thing too, Anthony, like, this is a good draft for corners, for safeties, and then developmental edge guys. So if you can get one in each one, let's go. But I think if the high end guy, I think it's corner, because it's a premium spot.
For you, do they have to address center in this draft? Do you feel like that's kind of a must as well with the situation they have there?
I don't think you're going to find a starting center in this draft. I don't know that it's a deep draft for center. I think there are guys you will have to probably convert to the position. So I think you bring somebody in who can compete and then develop. And so I go back to Seattle. They won the Super Bowl with an undrafted center. He was undrafted in 2024. Didn't start till last year. Bring him in, develop, put him in. So if that's where you want to go, I don't think they have to go like third round. No, not unless he's like the best guy on your board. There's some guard that you convert there. I don't see that, but I think I would want to bring someone in who could compete for that. But I also, when you talk to people over there, like, I think they know that they want Allegretti to compete for the job. I think they feel pretty good with him there, and just what they want the center to do and to be. And the first thing they always talk about is communication and leadership. And I think they feel really good about him in those areas. Now, I don't know where that goes, but I think he has to compete for it. But I would bring someone in lower in the draft to compete and then develop for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple of centers out there. I feel like you never pay attention to the centers until you need one. And now I'm like, got a whole long list of them. There's going to be a few guys there, especially a young fella he ain't too young. He's like 24, 25. Coogan out of Indiana. He'll be available late in the draft. Played a lot of ball.
Right.
So that could be a good player to bring in. May not have to force him on the field. And then let him kind of work his way through it all. We got the good John Keim here from ESPN. Man, you're doing big things. So let's see here. Offensively, everybody's been in love with Jeremiah, right? And I know that he's going to be an extremely talented player. But do you feel like, is he the absolute need on offense, or should they go elsewhere on offense, like receiver?
At number 7?
Either at 7 or kind of overall, because I know that there's, depending on how the first 6 fall, there could be Jeremiah Love there. He could be gone, and now you're looking at Tate or Sonny Styles or Caleb Downs. So it could go any which way. But, like, how do you feel about Jeremiah Love versus, like a receiver impacting the offense?
Well, and here's, I asked somebody this the other day, and then another coach in the NFC, like, if you have a choice between running back and receiver, especially like in this draft, like this guy really likes Jeremiah Love. He also liked Carnell Tate, called him bust proof. But as he pointed out, in this league, it's still a passing league. And if you get down 10, second half, fourth quarter, you're throwing the ball down the field. So you want guys who can go get the ball down the field. So if it's equal, I'm taking the receiver. I don't know that it's equal in this situation. That's the only thing. Like, I don't know that. So then you look at, okay, what else do you need? You need impact offensive players. And Jeremiah Love is an impact offensive player. Talked to more than a few people who have, whether it's analysts or teams, who would view him as a number one, one of the top players in the draft. So because of the potential impact as a receiver, not just catching the ball, but the way he runs routes, the kind of routes he can run, and then the 4.36 speed. So I think you put him in a different category other than just running back. It's the same reason the thing I keep bringing up in the offseason is that they went after Tyler Linderbaum at center. Center's not a high impact position, but they wanted the guy. They wanted Linderbaum more than they wanted to go. Like, you notice after Linderbaum, they didn't go get another center. It's like, we wanted that guy because he can impact the run game in a higher level. And they were okay paying him at a certain level, way more than typically a center would get. So I think I would apply the same logic to Love, that they would view him as a high impact player. And so I think he would be a guy that, I think absolutely he's in play there, if he's there.
Right. John Keim is with us, ESPN.com, and, of course, the John Keim Report. You can check it out where you find your better podcasts. And good enough to join us here on Bleav in Commanders, brought to you by FanDuel. Yeah, you hit something earlier, and I've been thinking about it a lot. This is an interesting draft from the standpoint of, in the top 10, a lot of the people we're talking about are not what we call priority position guys, right? Like, these are not the premier position guys, whether it be corner, offensive tackle, quarterback, these kind of things. A lot of them are, off-ball linebackers, or, guys that are, that are safeties, and we're trying to figure out, and running back, of course, is one of those positions. So you're just trying to find out, I guess, who the best available is for you. Do you feel like the Commanders have put themselves in the spot, though, because of the work they did in the offseason, where they can truly be best available, John, and you can certainly be okay with that after round one? The long and the short of what I was getting at with you, do you feel like they have truly put themselves in the spot where they have covered enough of the holes throughout the offseason that they can be in a comfortable position, feeling like each round, starting with the first pick, whether that's 7 or they move back if they get a chance to, that they can go best available?
Yeah, to a degree, absolutely, because you don't have to get an edge because you got one, right? You got multiple edges in the offseason. You can win, you can play there. Running back, we brought up Jeremiah. Well, right. You have Krosky Merritt, you have Jerome Ford, and Rashad White, and Jeremy McNichols. Can you go win with that group? Yeah, I mean, look at 2 years ago, they won 12 games with Brian Robinson as a lead back, but with Austin Eckler playing only 12 games and being effective. But so the point is, you can go win with them. But could you get a guy that can help you there? Yes. Can you get an edge that could help you there? Yeah, because you only have three of the top 4 edges are not signed for 2027. So I think, corner, they have guys now. If you have to go out and play, you can start with these guys. But can you upgrade there? Yes. And I think the same thing at linebacker, like Leo Chenal. You have Jordan McGee, who I know they're excited to see how he develops. But if you can add Sonny Styles, now you have a stronger group. So I think that's where they're at. And I think the big thing to me is, if you can add a blue chip talent, they don't have emaugh blue chip players. So if you can add a blue chip talent, that's where you're going to do it regardless. And it's funny because earlier this offseason, when the Giants signed Tremaine Edmonds at linebacker, I asked somebody, like, do you think that takes him out of the Sonny Styles pursuit? Because after the combine, everybody's like, oh my God, the Giants are taking Sonny Styles. And the comment was, you're not passing on, in general, you're not passing on a blue chip talent, or you're not passing on you think is a blue chip talent for Tremaine Edmonds, for basically kind of a middle of the road linebacker at this point. And so I think, like, you take that logic, and I would apply it here. If you have a guy at a position, I think they've done things to fortify spots. I don't think they've done anything that you say, oh, you don't have to take a guy there. Maybe tight end, right? You're not taking the guy there, but otherwise, I think you can say they're all in play. Safety, receiver, all of them.
All right. I want to put you on a little bit of a spot. So you imagine it's the 23rd, and then the Commanders are there, and this GM, John Keim, he's got to call the shots. Sonny is gone. Okay, Sonny is gone. Jeremiah Love is gone. So you're looking at a Reuben Bain has slipped. You've got a Carnell Tate. We got Mansour Delane. You mentioned all those great teams. One thing that was about all those defenses, they have one really good corner that seems to shut down one side of the field, right? Stingley, Gonzalez, Woolen. You got the option to trade back, or you're going to select a player at 7. What are you going to do, John Keim? What do you do?
I'm staying there because I want, if I'm considering one of those guys blue chip, I'm staying there because I want the blue chip guys. We've seen too many times where teams trade down, and more doesn't always equal better. That's the one thing. Like you can,
right.
If you have 4 guys there, let's say at 7, it's like, hey, we like all these guys. It's about the same, and you can trade back, and you get to 11, you get one of those guys, perfect. But I'm gonna look at this like Delane is the top corner in the draft. I think they need elite guys. And I think you need guys who affect the passer. So if you have Amos on one side and Delane on the other, you now have a chance to build a strong foundation on defense with what you've added in the front. So that's, at this point, under that scenario, that's where I would go.
All right, cool. I've been on the trade back side of things. I think you could trade back a little bit, pick up a 2nd round pick. But you make strong
points. You have
points.
to have someone move up.
Yeah.
And I think to be honest,
some phone calls.
And we don't. And here's the thing: we're not going to know until they're on the clock if somebody's actually going to do that. But if Sonny or Love is there, maybe then you can entice someone to move up. I think it might be harder with the other ones, like But I don't know. Like I don't know what all these other teams think about Reuben Bain. Like maybe someone's like, "Hey, I've got to have that guy. We'll give you a 2nd round pick." And there's some teams that Miami has a lot of. Miami and the Jets have a lot of draft capital. So would they do something like that? And and how far are you willing to move down? I wouldn't want to move too far down, but I do think my preference is to add blue chip players. And if you think one of those guys is that, pick them and go to bed, sleep happy that night. But if you can trade back and there's 4 or 5 guys there, and like we get one of those guys, great. All right, then I'm happy with that. And you get a pick, sure, because you do need, if you want to get a safety, there's good safeties are going to be available in the 2nd round, good receivers, 2nd and 3rd round. So you do have a chance to get more good players, but I also think, you need some guys who could potentially be elite.
John Keim Report, ESPN covers the Commanders, of course, and been doing it for many decades, seen a lot of different things come and go. I gotta ask you today, this new and improved uniform, which looks similar to obviously the old uniforms of the Redskins back in the Super Bowl era. My big takeaway from it all, John, I don't know about you, is just like the way that this group made this kind of thing look seamless, whereas the last group they just blew it from the jump, right? Like people immediately hated it so much, and it's just like they didn't even have the color scheme proper. I mean, whether you like the way it all laid out, I mean, that was the crazy part to me. I don't know. What did you think of the way they rolled this thing out today? And it seems like, you're never going to make everybody happy, but it seems like a lot of people are happy about this for once. Yeah,
and I think they knew from talking to a lot of people, et cetera, that what the look they wanted to go back to. And, I grew up in Cleveland, so as an Indians fan, they changed the name to the Guardians. Yeah. And it's like, I understand the jarring nature of that move, right? But the difference was when I turned on to opening day for the Guardians the next year, they looked the same. So I didn't feel like I was watching a different franchise.
Right.
But going to these games, when they were the Washington football team, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a football team, but you felt like you were watching the same team, same franchise. When they changed it, to me, it was way too much at one time. And I felt like that was a big mistake at the time. Like you not only changed the name, but you took away the look. And now you felt like you were watching a different team. And I know that a lot of people felt that way. So if they had just done this in the beginning, I think people said, well, I may not like the name, but the look, at least I feel like I'm watching the same team. And that was absolutely a consideration for them. When I talked to Mark Klaus, team president, chief marketing officer, Patrick Arthur yesterday, like that was something they brought up. And Patrick Arthur was like, I want people to look when they're watching this to feel like they're watching the same team they used to. That essentially what he said. So that was a definitely goal. And I think they accomplished that. I know it's not going to, not everybody's going to be happy about it because that's just the nature of anything, right?
Sure.
but they do look like the, outside of the logo on the helmet, which, was in place for a while, but it changed over the years. But still, like outside of that, you're going to watch them and say, like, that looks like the team I came here to watch 20, 30 years ago. So, that's now they have to go out and win. If people want to be happy, you got to win. But
Right.
at least they'll look the same.
No, that's a great point you bring in with the Guardians Indians conversion too. John at John_Keim on the X, again, ESPN Commanders reporter, and of course you can check him out at the John Keim Report. We appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You got a lot of interviews and things to get ready for the draft. Thanks for squeezing us in today here on Bleav in Commanders.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Always enjoy it. Anthony, good seeing you again. Scott, good seeing you. And I apologize for cutting out twice. I don't know what happened, but
no worries.
I apologize.
No
All
worries,
right, buddy.
guys.
Thank you, John. Thanks, man. Take care. Yeah, I think he really, the essence of what he said is so true, right? Like, and I remember having this conversation, with Jason Wright standing right there, and he's like, no, this is the same color, burgundy. No, it's not. It's cranberry. It looks like it looks like the Arizona Cardinals colors, and they're telling us about this color palette thing, the NFL test. So it never made sense to me, and I'm like, I know the perforation changes it a little bit, but it didn't ever look burgundy. Then when we went to the throwbacks last year, you're like, oh my God, of course this other color is not burgundy, whatever it is. It's cranberry in gold or cranberry in yellow, really. Anyway, so it was good that they got it right. I mean, I know a lot of people don't love the W, but I do like the alternative spear helmet. I think that was really, really well done. And Mark Klaus is saw his interview today with B. Mitch and Finley. I mean, what a sharp guy. And again, just going back to just the basic stuff that Josh Harris has put together with the front office, just like, people that know how to communicate properly with you and understand what the fan base cares about and cares to listen about it and not afraid to spend to do it. And, that was always the other problem too. The last thing was so rushed and messy and, just half-assed, frankly, is what it was. Yeah. It was a half-ass effort by Snyder's crew. I mean, it wasn't good.
It really wasn't. It really wasn't. We tried to be supportive, like, yay, but it was like, nah,
like, good. And what's interesting about these uniforms, Anthony? No name of the Commanders on them anywhere. Have you noticed that? On the back of the model, but that's not going to be what they do. So that's going to be somebody. That's going to be somebody's last name, obviously. But it's not up front like a cross or whatever. And I guess I heard somebody, I don't know who I credit this with, but the point was, hey, you know what? You look at, you don't need to have the name on it, right? Like, who the team is. You don't need that. Yeah. I mean, come to think of it, John mentioned, like, growing up in Cleveland, Browns have obviously just been those plain helmets and the colors. They never put Browns across them. And there are some teams that have the small names across them, but a lot of the classic franchises do not waste your time with the name embroidered anywhere on their jerseys because you know who they are,
Yeah, that is true. Hell, our friends up there in Philly, they just redid their jerseys. I think they made the Eagles that much larger. And then you pointed that out. It doesn't say that. I think on the old Redskins jersey, it used to say Redskins. Right
they did. I think, for a while, right?
Really
it was
small, right at top. So that's them being kind of smart, right? Like,
well, because let's face it, it's triggering to some people still, right? Like, there's some people are always going to be triggered by it. So this way you're like, we're just going to be showing you a W for Washington, and they're actually going to be in Washington in a few years again, which is great. And then we're just not going to put the name Commanders out here. It'll be on the scoreboard. It'll be in the stat sheet. It'll be on Sports Center, what have you. But we're not going to just throw it in your face all the time.
My favorite thing about all of it, the logo is not getting a lot of love, right? People are they feel like it was a little lazy because they were like, you just dropped it in the middle. I like the spear with the whole black jersey look.
I think it's cool too. It's better. I'm not a black jersey guy normally, but I think this is a way better version of the black jerseys than they ever had before.
Yeah,
sure.
This and the name Hailraiser, like all of that, like gives aggressive aggression. Like, I would love to see this when the lights are flickering on and on when they had those LED things
going. The night game thing,
the night game. I love that. I love how that looks. Now, I kind of feel like I wish I would have. Sometimes I would like to just put the W at the end of this arrow, kind of like a hat tip to the feather, and then let the spear maybe lead the whole way. But I think they did a good job. I know I had a special request that they put them daggum gold pants back in the mix, and they got them. Yeah. That's my favorite combo, especially when they have it with this burgundy top. You put those two things together. Piece de resistance, man. That is some top tier quality jerseys. Go ahead, send them your address, Scott. Man, I'm gonna tell him what size you are. I'm gonna see if I can get you one, man.
I need a large, man. I need a large, man. I definitely need a large. But yeah, they look good. I think they nailed it today, so that's good. I'm kind of relieved because you just never know. You know how the public can be. It is crazy at times. And there's already a faction you already figured they were already out because they're like, never whatever they do now type group, and that's fine. But I think more importantly, you at least got get the color scheme correctly. That seemed like a basic thing from the jump that they didn't do. All right, so we are 8 days away from the draft. I cannot believe it is coming up here this quick. Obviously, we'll be talking more about it between now and then. The Top Golf event happened this week. Did you see that? The Commanders got many of the top their top invitees to do the Top Golf thing again. Remember a few years ago, this was a controversial piece, or at least we were led to believe it, right? We were led to believe that this bothered the guy they ended up drafting, Jaden Daniels. And, since time has gone on, we found out that might not have been true, but somehow that weird story got out there. And this is what I was talking to you about earlier this week or last week. It's like sometimes these stories come out, they're put out there by either that team or another team just to kind of muddy the waters a little bit, and make you think something's going on. But the fact that, that ended up being a bunch of nonsense was funny. And I think it's I think it's interesting what the Commanders do. I don't know what they why they chose to do this or why they think it's I've heard some versions of why Adam Peters likes to do it, but it is different. It is different, and I kind of understand they want to see guys in like a different setting and more relaxed and competitive stuff. So that part of it, I'm intrigued by. But would you have liked to have done that if you were being brought in for either recruiting visit or something in college or pros to do something just kind of off the board like that, as opposed to the same old, hey, let's go out to dinner. Let us show you the facility. Let's talk about what we think about you as a player. Break down this film.
There's a part of it where I like it because there's going to be plenty of time for them to meet one-on-one with coaches. Okay.
Right.
Let's not, just because they're not taking them out to, the finest steak spot in DC or going downtown to get the stone crabs, at Joe's. Just because they're not doing those things doesn't mean they don't like these guys, right? You obviously can tell they take care of the players and they really love on them all the time, not before they draft them. But I love this because you get to see them be around their guys, even though they're not going to all be on the same team. Wouldn't you have loved to see what Jaden Daniels would have been like in the locker room with the Commanders? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
That's the type of thing. You want to get an idea of how a guy is going to just naturally act around his teammates. Not necessarily I have to be all the way buttoned up. This is the most important interview of my life. I'm sitting here that these teams want to draft me. I understand. You're going to have those conversations with your 7th overall pick. You're going to have that deep conversation. You're not going to make a decision based off the fact that he can hit a draw off of a AstroTurf mat up there at Top Golf. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Man, he did a really good job at that golf game, man. We got to take him at 7. That's not how you're going to make the selection. It's all about helping the guys feel comfortable. I feel like it's helpful to see them in that environment. And then you can sit there and say, hey, I get a good idea of how this person is as a leader, how he's going to fit in with our locker room. Is he a loner and stays off to the side, or is he somebody that, kind of likes to help be around people and is uplifting? Be like, I can see a lot of Jaden in him, or he reminds me of Mike Sanders still. You know what I'm saying? So that's the type of thing I see with it. I don't have a problem with it. Hey, I'm all for the new things. Everything's been going good so far, damn it. Don't try to put more rain on parades. We doing good over here.
This happened. I guess they did it last night. Among the 20 names, the more than 20 names that were there, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs, David Bailey, Jeremiah Love, Mansour Delane, and Ruben Bain Jr. Could you imagine showing up to Top Golf in Ashburn last night and seeing all these dudes out there? And you're like, wait a minute, I know who that guy is. I mean,
also could be a little bit of a sponsorship deal. Like, hey man, we'll hold this here.
Well, right? You remember after they took, remember last time in 2024 they did this with all the quarterbacks, but I remember after the draft was over that night, that year, the social team put out time to go to Top Golf. After after the draft was over. So yeah, no, listen, that not that, by the way, that Topgolf in Ashburn does not need any extra publicity. It is always busy. I think outside of the one in Las Vegas, it probably does the most. I think on the East Coast, at one point, it was the highest billing one. I don't know if it still is or not.
Oh, they took them to the
like
one in Ashburn. Now. They did the one in Ashburn.
Yeah, they crush it. Yeah. Oh, it's literally right down the street from the facility. So yeah, that's the one they go. That's the one they go to. But anyway,
down the way, a little bit further from there. Oh well. Nonetheless, it was all good. Hey, glad you were able to make it. John Keim was here, y'all. If you didn't catch that, new jerseys are out. They got the black units, the burgundy units. They got the gold pants. So Armstrong is happy. Scott Jackson is happy. And the draft is almost here, baby. We are less than a little over a week away, 8 days. We'll be here. We'll get to hear who's going to hold up the very first draft jersey. You get to figure it out. We're going to cover it all here. I'm Anthony Armstrong. That's Scott Jackson. We'll talk to you later. Stay safe.